5 things that may help you with your skin aging journey. I've been hearing a lot about something that actually made me a little skeptical related to skin aging and skin health. Exercise may actually affect how our skin ages. I was like, really? Is this the latest wellness trend, or has a new paper come out that has turned into the latest anti-aging clickbait? You know me, I'm always quite skeptical about the newest and the latest shiny thing, especially about skincare because that's my passion. So I decided to do a little bit more digging, and actually, it's really interesting. If there's evidence around something, I am willing to change my mind. And this turned out to be a little more interesting than I thought it would be. Also, I had this really duh moment. Our skin is an organ, so there really could be something there. We talk a lot about what we can put on our skin, and I'm the guiltiest one here. My channel is mostly about skincare and home devices, what we can put on our skin to get the best and healthiest skin that we can at any age. But our skin doesn't exist independently of the body. There is biology going on here. And all the media chatter just got me thinking a little more critically and a little more deeply about what is science actually telling us are things that we can do that may support healthier skin as we age. Not just what we're putting on our skin, but those things that we can do in kind of our daily life. What are things we actually know through evidence? What is just interesting and kind of preliminary? What is just the latest trend? And we just kind of need to take that for what it is, because I don't want to miss something that may be really important just because it's not skincare or the latest new hot skincare device or the latest procedure that you can do in office. I want to be able to provide this channel with a holistic view of what we can do for healthier skin as we age. What this video isn't going to be about, I'm not going to tell you to run out and buy a bushel of blueberries and start drinking more water. Blueberries and drinking more water isn't going to erase your wrinkles. Getting 8 hours of sleep isn't going to repair all the sun damage that you've done over the years, and exercise won't lead to a facelift. And clearly, I do believe in skincare. Obviously, I review skincare. I love skincare. I use home devices. I've had procedures. I'm not throwing any of this out the window. But what I am thinking is that I've been thinking about skin health a little bit too narrowly, and I want to change that with this video. My goal today, after looking at the research and thinking about my skincare routine a little more holistically, is to share with you the 5 things that I've learned and that I'm going to start implementing more regularly into my home skincare routine, and that may help you with your skin aging journey as well. I also want to be clear before we get into this that healthy skin doesn't mean younger looking skin. We all age differently. Genetics do matter. Facial anatomy, volume loss, collagen structure, hormones, how much sun exposure we've had, and the type of healthy or not healthy lifestyle history that we have. The fact is that we're all starting at a completely different place on our skincare journey. It's not necessarily age dependent. Occasionally I'll get a comment like, I'm 70 and I look 10 years younger than you do at 60. So basically they're saying they look 50 at 70. And I think, wow, you really won the genetic lottery. And honestly, I get a little jealous, but that's not the point. The point is we're all starting at different places, but we're not trying to look 40 at 60. We're trying to get the healthiest version of our skin wherever we are in our 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond. It's not a contest about who has the greatest looking skin. It's more about you and your skin journey. This isn't about reversing aging, stopping aging, or defeating aging. It's about making sure we're not overlooking what we can do today that may have beneficial effects later, which brings me back to the beginning of this video, exercise and the potential for skin health. I've been hearing a lot about exercise and aging skin. I recently watched a video by Penn Smith where she did a deep dive into some research on this topic at McMaster University. Also, Claire at the Honest channel recently implemented a really intense exercise program for her older adult parents and herself, and has been talking a lot about this topic. So all of this got me curious about looking a little further into the research, and it's actually quite fascinating. The researchers at McMaster University published their article in 2015, which yes, is an older study, and they published it in the journal Aging Cell if you want to go take a look at it. But the interesting thing about their study is it's not an opinion study. They just didn't ask people how they felt they looked after exercise. They actually studied the structure of the skin and the skin metabolism. First, they compared physically active and sedentary adults over a very broad age range, all the way from 20s to 80s. But importantly, the biopsy that they took was from non-sun exposed skin, the skin of the butt cheek, actually. And why is this important? Because The skin of the face is really complicated. Many of us have been exposed to the sun, and some of us have been sun avoiders. So comparing that would be really complicated. So they did non-sun exposed skin biopsies to separate out the effects of photoaging and intrinsic aging. What they found were differences associated with habitual exercise in skin structure and measures related to mitochondrial function. But this is an association, not causation. It's interesting, but active people and sedentary people can differ in so many different ways. And it doesn't really prove that doing the exercise caused the changes. But what they did next is super interesting. They took a group of 10 previously sedentary adults aged 65 to 86, and they put them through an endurance exercise program. It was a 12-week program on a stationary bike, 30 minutes at 65% maximum heart rate, gradually increasing to 45 minutes at 75%. And after 12 weeks, they repeated the skin biopsies, and they found measurable changes in the outer skin layer, increased reticular dermal collagen, and increased mitochondrial DNA in the skin. Now, 10 people is really interesting, but it's certainly not proof. This is a tiny little intervention study and super curious and very interesting, and also was to the researchers. But then they had to ask the question, why? Why is exercising the leg muscles affecting skin that isn't exercising? And why are these changes happening? This is where it gets sciencey really fast, and I will spare you the biology lesson. Briefly, working muscles release signaling molecules that communicate with other tissues in the body. And the researchers identified one, IL-15 or interleukin 15, as a possible part of this muscle-skin connection. A lot of the researchers' detective work was done on mice in a lab, so we can't say that this is a proven anti-aging pathway in humans. But the concept that got my attention is that our muscles and our skin may be communicating in ways we're just beginning to understand. And then I found another human study done in 2023 that makes this even more interesting. Researchers began with 61 healthy, sedentary, middle-aged Japanese women, with 56 having completed the study for the final analysis. They either did aerobic or resistance training for 16 weeks. Both groups showed measurable improvements in skin elasticity and the structure of the upper dermis. But the kicker is the resistance training group also showed an increase in dermal thickness. Again, a really small study, and we're not ready to replace retin-A with weightlifting, but super interesting. Now we have different human studies, different exercises, and measurable changes in skin. Enough for me to stop and say, this probably just is an internet hype or a one-off study. Something's going on here, and I probably need to stop and pay more attention. I can't undo years and years of sun damage by exercising, but it's enough to make me stop and pay attention, because I don't want to blow off something that I can do now that I'll regret not doing in 20 years. And exercise is beneficial for us in so many ways. This would just be a bonus that while maintaining our heart health and our muscle health, we may actually be creating an environment for healthier skin. This mini research dive also made me think about what else I might be ignoring in my daily habits that could help with my skin. And not surprisingly, the first thing I thought of was sleep, or my lack of sleep. I did not need a research paper to tell me that when I am sleep deprived, my skin doesn't look its best. I feel droopy, my facial expressions are droopier, my skin just doesn't look as healthy as it does when I've gotten an 8-hour sleep. But there is actually evidence behind the fact that sleep can improve skin health. There's a study that looked at 60 healthy women and compared good quality sleepers who generally sleep 7 to 9 hours with poor quality sleepers who slept for 5 or fewer hours. Both intrinsic and extrinsic skin aging were measured. The better sleepers showed better skin recovery. No surprise there, and better recovery after UV stress, which actually I found really interesting. Poor sleepers had a higher score for intrinsic aging. Not a big surprise, really. And there's also controlled sleep deprivation experiments where researchers measured the skin after loss of sleep, and they found decreases in elasticity, decreases in hydration, and impaired barrier function. So if you wake up after a night's sleep and you think, I look just terrible, you're probably not just imagining it. There's really something kind of scientific going on there. And again, this doesn't prove that 8 hours of sleep is going to erase your wrinkles. Personally, what I've noticed over the last 5 or 10 years in menopause is that lack of sleep is the thing that will produce the fastest visible change to my skin, and not in a good way. And no serum I put on in the morning is going to help after only 4 hours of sleep. I've really prioritized sleep as part of my skincare routine. Now, that might not be the same for all of you, but for me, sleep is definitely part of what makes my skin look healthier. Nutrition. This is where I'm going to stay firmly in my lane. It's probably where I get the most questions about skin health. What I eat in a day, what I recommend to eat in a day. And I'm not going to give you an anti-aging diet. I am not a nutritionist. I am not a dietitian. So that would be well out of any of my expertise. I try to eat a balanced diet. I'm not going to tell you blueberries or water or a particular diet are going to help your skin. I honestly don't know. There is some observational research out there connecting diet and skin health, but I just don't think there are enough controlled studies or enough studies that have actually proven what diet will lead to good skin health. I just try to eat healthfully. Clearly, for all biological function, you need adequate fatty acids, adequate protein, adequate minerals, adequate vitamins, all of the things that make up a good health diet. You need those for good skin. Another daily habit that will 100% help with aging skin is stop adding to your UV damage. If I could go back and talk to my 20-year-old self, I may not have had the perfect sunscreen back then, but I would have tried to wear it. My dad was probably the only one running around on the beach with zinc oxide on his nose aside from the lifeguard. I should have listened to him, even though the SPF then was 15 and it had tons of alcohol in it and it burned. But in addition to that, I wish I'd done better at sun avoidance. Staying in the shade, wearing long sleeves, just avoiding that midday sun, not purposely baking my skin. I would not be dealing with undoing the sun damage that I'd gotten in earlier years. Just all those sort of healthy habits that you intrinsically know that I'm trying to instill into my grandson and my kids. So just healthy habits, sun avoidance, wear your sunscreen, of course. The last skin healthy habit I want to talk about is a little bit different. It's about perception, not really a habit, but sort of how we perceive ourselves. This changes the relationship of perfectly normal aging skin. Many of us are scrutinizing our appearance now more than ever. I have days when I look in the mirror and I think my hair is absolutely looking horrible today. And then somebody out and about or one of you will give me a comment that, wow, your hair looks really amazing today. And I think, wow, really? Yeah, I did not think that. And this also happens with my skin. If I'm having a bad skin day, somebody might compliment my skin and I'm just thinking, well, it just got me thinking, like, I am not looking at my skin through the right lens or my hair through the right lens. At times I have a distorted perception of how I'm presenting myself to the world. And no, it doesn't mean that thinking positive thoughts about ourselves are going to make our wrinkles disappear or that our mindset is manufacturing collagen. That's not what I mean. But I think sometimes our perception, actually I can only speak for me, my perception of my appearance isn't really an objective measure of how I'm actually appearing to the rest of the world. And with this focus on social media and filters and high def and 4K, it's really getting crazy. And of course, we add in the whole issue with AI. We need to be mindful that honestly, probably nobody is scrutinizing us as closely as we think. My personal takeaway for this one, after reflecting on the comments, is I probably need to remind myself to back away from the mirror. Not that I don't care about my appearance or that you shouldn't care about your appearance. I obviously do, but it's not a competition. You know, I am not trying to look 40 at 60. I'm just trying to have the healthiest skin I can at the point I am in my skincare journey. And like I said at the beginning of the video, healthy skin doesn't equal younger looking skin. We're all at different places and we're all doing our best as we move through our 50s, 60s, and 70s and beyond. After looking at all the research, personally, here's where I've landed. I'm still using my skincare. I'm still using my devices. Apparently, I'm still buying really expensive serums to test for you guys, and I'm getting the occasional in-office procedure. But I don't want to overly focus on what I'm putting onto my skin that I completely forget the body that's supporting it. Exercise, sleep, nutrition, and reducing UV exposure are all different ways that we can support the biological environment that our skin is trying to function in. And perception, we just may need an adjustment there. It might not be our skin, but it could just be the way we're judging and the lens that we're looking at it through. I don't want to look back 20 years from now and realize I was obsessing over a particular serum I should be using and ignoring other things that may matter for skin health. I can't undo what I did 20 years ago, but I can look at the evidence and look at it objectively and skeptically and see what I can implement into my kind of more holistic skincare routine to make changes in my skin moving forward. I hope you found these 5 tips helpful. Let me know what you're doing for your more holistic approach to skin aging. Thanks very much for watching and wishing you all a skintastic day.